Okay, so I wanted to talk to you about Blacklight IIIF search. So this is a gem that I wrote this summer. It basically is just a plugin for Blacklight that provides a way to provides a IIIF content search API endpoint in your application. So if you're not familiar with IIIF content search, if you know about IIIF, you know that there's an image API that provides sort of the standard way for machines to talk to each other about the nature of digital images. You might know that there's a presentation API that provides a way for providing a JSON document that describes the structure of a multi-image document or an object that has some image content or other content. Now that the IIIF presentation API is moving into the 3.0, I think it's starting to describe more of multimedia works as well as image content. IIIF content search is yet another API that basically is just a standard way of providing like a JSON response describing the full text of a document. So if you have images that have text content like book pages or newspaper pages or things like that, and you want to provide a way for a viewer client like Universal Viewer to provide a full text search within that for those images, for that text content, then the IIIF content search API is like a standard way of doing that. So this plugin, when you install it, provides that API endpoint, and assuming that you have it configured correctly, it will return the JSON response that matches the API spec. And so it allows you to use something like the Universal Viewer for full text searching. So the reason that I wrote this is that I'm also working on a grant project with the University of Utah. Boston Public Library, Utah are collaborating on a newspapers in Samvera project. So the goal of that project is to provide a plugin for Hyrax that will allow you to manage digitized newspaper content. And so as part of the use cases that we want to support for that, full text searching within a viewer in the front end is one of the use cases we wanted to support. And we sort of thought about, okay, how are we gonna do this? And obviously IIIF makes the most sense. But as you notice, this is not a Hyrax plugin, this is a Blacklight plugin. So I think that we were trying to do is say, searching is really just it's mostly just a Solr-based concern, or your search index. So let's just keep the dependencies as light as possible. And Blacklight seemed like a good sort of target level for that dependency, since Blacklight already has a lot of nice convenience methods for interacting with Solr and configuring things and search builders and all those kinds of things. So it makes it easy to work with Solr and get results from Solr. So the plugin, we are hoping to use this within Hyrax, although we haven't actually tested it in that yet. But basically, there's a few assumptions that are kind of baked into this this gem, and again, this is like release is like 0.0.1 alpha, alpha. Like this is the as untested as you can possibly get. So I'm anxious to get feedback and see what people think if they're trying to use it. But basically, it kind of assumes that you have an application that uses Blacklight, B, that you have a Solr index, and C, that you have some kind of scanned media content that's described in your Solr index, including the full text being in an index Solr field. And then also that you have some way of constructing a query that allows you to say, I'm searching for this search term, but only return results that are pages of this document. So like you have to have some way to make that query in Solr. You have to have some kind of relation between your page objects and your document object, your book object, your newspaper object, et cetera, et cetera. So assuming you can do those things, you can use this plugin. The The installation is, pretty standard for Blacklight stuff. You run a generator and it adds some configuration to catalog controller. It adds a search builder class, adds some routes, and then you have to kind of configure it for your settings, or for your repository and your solar fields that are describing the full text and the relationships between your page objects and your document objects. So I don't have like a ton of time, but I'm going to do live demo. So I don't have this running in production yet, but I do have it running on our test server. And the test server is not down, which is great. So I do have a few sort of like book type objects in here. Okay, so this is a book. So if you have, the way that this gets connected to your IIIF manifest, basically, so let's look at the manifest for this item. And yeah, this isn't pre-printed, but basically within your manifest, there is you have to define a service, and that service has a context, which is the IIIF search, and then there's the identifier, which is the search endpoint, and then the profile, the label, search within this item, etc. here. So this is basically if you define this service in your presentation manifest.
Can you make it bigger, Evan?
Yes.
Thank you.
You have
Yeah.
extra time now, you have till 10.
Oh,
You
okay.
have till 10,
Okay.
so don't worry.
Okay, I'm stealing Steve's time.
Yes, we'll talk about Steve later.
So I
this
can
is-
take that last time slot, just for planning.
It's great.
Okay.
This is the endpoint that I want to show you. So again, I apologize, we're just going to look at a bunch of raw JSON. So if I hit this endpoint, nothing happens, right? It just returns the service because I'm specifying the search query. But if I add the parameters for search, somebody give me like a food search term, food ingredient search term.
Zucchini.
What?
Zucchini.
Zucchini?
Quinoa.
Quinoa is too old. It's not good.
Sauerkraut. Anything difficult to spell.
What about onions? Let's just try onions. Let's try onions. Okay, so now, I'm sorry, again, this is really hard to read, but basically, this is returning a bunch of resources as an annotation list, and each annotation has an identifier, and it has a resource that is the text, and it has the little text snippet here. Again, this is because I've configured the search builder class. It tells Solar return some snippets, and you can specify like how much text you want to return in the snippet, etc. Assuming that your full text is stored in Solar. And then it also tells me the canvas. This is like the image that this search term appears on, and here are the coordinates where that word appears. So this obviously requires a little bit of configuration on the part of the implementer, because you have to build, this response has to have real URIs that really work. So you have to be able to tell Blacklight IIIF search what your presentation API URLs, like how to construct a URL that is a real Canvas URL is, and you also need to tell it how to get these coordinates here. And so that is going to be very specific to your implementation, most likely, because there's not really, Hyrax community doesn't have like there hasn't been a lot of consensus on how to handle this kind of data, because I don't think that many people are doing full text. So the way that works in GEM is that these are, I expect that people are going to have to customize this, and this is something that this is one of the aspects of this gem that I'd really like to get some feedback on, is that these are basically set up as concerns that that are intended to be overridden. So by default, this is what it just
Can you
returns.
make it bigger?
Yes, sorry. By default, it's returning like dummy values, and then it's intended that you will override this module in your application.
So what did you do to get the coordinates in your example? I mean, tell us about that.
So in our case, we're still on Fedora 3. We're not in Hyrax yet or anything like that. We're using Hydra Head 8 or something like that. It's pretty old. But we have a JSON file in our repository that has, it's just a list of all the words and their coordinates from the page.
So he has the word onions, right? And so in the process of returning the results,
Yeah.
you're,
Yeah, in the process of returning results, basically the app has to grab that JSON derivative from Fedora, parse it for the search term, and then construct, then pull out the coordinates and then send it back and it's method, basically. So I'm just gonna.
Should we let Lynette have half of Steve's time also?
Sure, yeah. I was just going to do like a super quick demo, just to show you that this actually really works. And then I will turn over Universal Viewer.io. So I had that manifest URL. Let's see if it will pull up my objects. This is just the Universal Viewer demo. It's using my IIIF manifest. And now I can search for onions. And it shows my search results. For instance, on page 16. And here we go. So yeah, so like, if you can get the IIIF search stuff working in your Blacklight application or your Blacklight-based application, then you can get this kind of functionality without basically no work on your own part, which is great. So that's the beauty of IIIF standards. So, I don't know, so he definitely works with Universal Viewer. I don't know if Mirador has IIIF content search support yet. I know that some people have worked on it, but I don't think it's in the master yet, but I'm not sure. But anyway, that is